one club strategy in 2010 was a key launching pad, and look, I really thank the previous board for driving that, and also the SANFL directors. You have no idea what that foresight in supporting the one club has done for us, and you unanimously passing the one club merger of the Magpies and the Power in 2010 has been just a key milestone, probably the start of the momentum build, if you like, I see it. At the time, a very, very wise football head said it's our SANFL responsibility to grow the game, protect the game and champion the game. This is the motive behind all decisions made by the SANFL, and it's certainly relevant to today's announcement. The Port Adelaide Footy Club has been a mainstay in our state's history since 1870. The club has created and sustained a unique culture and a strong tradition. The names Treadray, Williams, Cale, Ebert, Motley, Quinn, all etched in their history books. The overall result will be a financially stronger Port Adelaide Football Club, an underpinning of the Magpies' future in the SANFL competition, and a financially stronger SANFL, all of which are critical to the ongoing prosperity to the football of South Australia. And I couldn't agree more with Lee Wicker's comments there in 2010 with the one club. And I think what's happened is his comments have crystallised and become clear. How? Well, you know, since 2010, our Back in Black debt demolition campaign raised $1.2 million in 2011. Membership revenue is up $1.5 million over the last 2 years, with over 10,000 lapsed members returning to the club since 2011. 10,000 disenfranchised customers coming back to Port Adelaide. Merchandise sales are up 200%, and the Magpies Heritage Jumper, which we're going to play around 23, where we're going to farewell Amy Stadium, that generated over $500,000 in sales, $500,000 in just 3 weeks. So the one club really helped bring some unity back to us. Without it, I'd hate to think the position that Port Adelaide would be in today. So this is why, and I've got to dispel a lot of the misinformation going around, why the reserves debate is concerning us so much. Now, for those who aren't across it, all the details, let me give you a plotted history. The 8 SANFL clubs are debating whether to allow the Crows and the Power to have AFL reserves teams in the SANFL League. If approved, as expected, the Crows will therefore enter a new team in the league to be a 10-team competition. We're proposing to have the Magpies as our state league SANFL club, as part of our one club policy, as with our overflow of Port Adelaide AFL players representing the Magpies with a combination of Magpie senior listed players. Now, without getting too bogged down in all the details, our case includes a willingness to work with SANFL to develop rules to ensure the Magpies don't have a competitive advantage, a commitment to maintain our game development responsibility, that's a cost of $400,000, which includes junior structures, which we love. We love our under 18s and 16s and our reserve SANFL side. And also to continue our community involvement. We've also offered to hand back all our SANFL funding, and that's $600,000 per year. That means the 8 SANFL clubs will get $75,000 into their coffers each year from us, not receiving that money from SANFL. So that's what we're proposing at the moment. A lot of people are saying, but you're an AFL team who surely wants to only win AFL premierships. Why are you fighting so hard to retain your commitment to community and grassroots footy in the SANFL competition? Well, without getting too schmaltzy about it, it's because this is exactly what we do as a community club. It's the heart of the club. We've got over 143 years of deep, intrinsic community connection. And it's that community that underpins our business and our business model. Our customer base, we reach out to, we touch, we're an important part of their life. And that's been going on for 143 years. It's basically who we are. It's more than just a Guernsey. It's the community we represent, and it's the community that's our foundation and basically defines us. We service 39 junior footy clubs at the moment throughout our zones. Generations of families have grown up sort of dreaming of their sons pulling on the Magpie prison bar. And I'm one of them. I grew up with a Guernsey with Jeff Motley's number on the back. Nothing's changed. Our community is not just the people directly connected through our zones, it's everyone, our members, our supporters, our families, our players. Mark Robertson from the Herald Sun AFL 360, he's often quoted as saying, good things happen in footy clubs. And we've been doing good things in our footy club for 143 years, and it's something we're incredibly proud of. A lot of people are saying, how can you afford to do this? How can you afford this model? I got asked when I spoke at the SA Press Club the other week, how can you afford it? Well, we've done the numbers, and basically our answer is, how can we not afford it? Because that community underpins our customer base. If the decision's made to force us to adopt purely a Crows model and in the Magpies, and that's what the alternative model is all about. Our momentum to Adelaide Oval's got to be lost, and who knows how we will get it back. Anyone tell me where all the Fitzroy supporters have gone? There are 3,000 dedicated Magpie members that only support our SANFL club. There's $700,000 of dedicated revenue associated with the Magpies. 93% of our supporters are Magpie supporters in SANFL. 87% of our lapsed members who need to get back on board if we're going to get that momentum to Adelaide Oval and get the other 10,000 that we need to get to our budgets. And 87% of them support the Magpies in SANFL. A decision to end the Magpies is going to disappoint and I would say anger the community, and we are feeling it now. We can't afford to let that happen. The community that we've worked so hard to reunite will have been, again be divided, and that's a commercial risk to us. That's a commercial risk to your second AFL team from this state being put in jeopardy. Now, let me make a couple of personal points. I don't think I've ever heard of a professional sporting organisation being ordered to demolish its commitment to community and grassroots sport. Now, I don't think anyone's ever been told, you must spend less, you stop spending. We mentioned this to other AFL club boards and they're absolutely gobsmacked by the idea. You know, they're saying, you're being asked to cut back on your community and your investment in grassroots. It's silly. Why do we need both AFL teams need to adopt the same model? Look, we're a foundation club, been in the comp 143 years. We have no problem with a Crows reserves team in the SANFL. And Rob Chapman has told me on a number of occasions, he has no problem with us staying the way we are. You know, he's saying, that's Port Adelaide, we don't have a problem. We just want a reserves team in the comp. And even if there is a desire for the same reserves model for both AFL teams, why on earth go for the lowest common denominator option? Wouldn't it be better to have both AFL teams with junior academies, with under 18s and 16s, investing in the community, having an SANFL reserves as well? Now, isn't it better everyone to upscale rather than cut to the lowest common denominator? It's something we're passionate about at Port Adelaide, and we will not step back from it. A couple of things from the psychic report this morning that I need to bring up. A criticism is that 1 minute the Port Adelaide Footy Club isn't tied to an Adelaide suburb, but the nation, and the next it's saying it wants to commit to community. Now, I don't see that as a problem. Yes, we need to be in the national commercial arena. And that's how we're going to survive, that's how we're going to grow, that's how we're going to afford to buy more than one Alta G. And Collingwood have 8 of them. These are these fancy running machines that take the gravity and all that. We were able to afford our first one the month before last, and Nathan Buckley told me the other weekend they had 8. Great. But to grow, we've got to be relevant nationally. Just as Haigs has its roots back here in Adelaide, but has to grow nationally and be a national confectionery brand, just as Cooper's has got to do it as well. Adelaide at heart, here is the foundation, but it's got to be a national brand. And dare I say, it's why Rupert Murdoch, who owns the advertiser, started his media empire with the advertiser, and is now the biggest media conglomerate in the world. That's why he'd always come back to Adelaide for his annual meeting. Because you have, while you're relevant nationally and internationally, you've got to be mindful of your roots, and you can be both. The other critical question that I've been put is that okay, kids dream from Taparoo High School of playing AFL footy coming through the Magpies, but you've got the draft in the middle. Relevant question. The draft does bugger it up a bit, all right? But by developing the talent here, they get drafted somewhere, like the Gold Coast, and hang out with Gary Ablett, or you go to West Coast Eagles like Brad Ebert, and while you get drafted there, you always have a heart to come back and play your footy at South Australia. I think that's a huge advantage of getting the best footballers to come back and play for our two AFL teams. I think that's really significant. Another question in the psychic report was if Andrew Demetriou allowed the power to wear the Magpies traditional black and white jumper, would I accept? No. The Power have their own history now. They want a flag with the teal. They've got a really impressive history, but that doesn't mean you don't have a Magpies brand as well in the SANFL. Well, and it's a one-club policy. Just like there's Qantas and Jetstar, just like there's Koch and Fanta, just like there's Sofitel and Mercure, you can be the one organisation with two products, two brands, two teams in different competitions, and it works beautifully. So I don't see that as an issue as well either. Next question. Can I assure everyone that the Port Adelaide Magpies coach will have independence to recruit, to select and direct his players to his agenda? It will be collaborative. We have a director of coaching in terms of Alan Richardson. But when it comes to game day, it can only be one boss. And of course it will be the coach of the Magpies. It's as simple as that. I don't think that's too hard to overcome from a business sense. I'm not sure it is that difficult. Will the AFL clubs allow the Power to have a recruiting zone as stipulated in its AFL reserves model? Well, I don't know where that came from. We haven't asked for it, haven't requested, don't expect it, not an issue for us. And are the people of the Eyre Peninsula happy with the way the one club Port Adelaide is servicing football's far west? Well, according to the reports we get, from Port Lincoln's and Eyre Peninsula, they're delighted with us. I don't know, we check with them all the time. We have players over there all the time. We have our own staff that have those zones under their authority. And finally, has he read, this is the psychic report to me, have I read the papers the former Power Boards wrote as a recommendation on the Magpies, that they get rid of the Magpies? And I should be aware that those papers are just one bumpy ride away from falling off the back of the truck. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't care. I haven't, this is a modern club that's gone into a new era with a new board, with a new passion, with a new focus and a new intensity, and I might add, a new success. So as far as what previous boards did, I really don't give a toss. Maybe it's the type of person I am, but I'm more a forward-looking person than a backward-looking person. I wasn't involved, I don't really care. So, look, I stand here today, basically on behalf of the board, Keith Thomas, the staff, the coaches and players, the entire Port Adelaide community, and declare we will not support any proposition that would see a genuine Magpies structure removed from the SANFL competition. We will not agree to the Magpies being dismantled. The gift of the Adelaide Oval, which this club, along with SANFL and the Crows, have worked so hard for, is just so crucial, perhaps to our very survival and the South Australian football. Currently, both our AFL and SANFL teams are well placed. They're knocking on the doors of the fire. I don't like using the F word because We don't want expectations to get a bit out of control. And we're fully engaged with the community behind us. We just can't allow that to be disrupted. So, my conclusion today. So there's no doubt. Sodas. Even you were saying, oh, Richie's just a front for you guys. You really want them dismantled and stuff like that. Cannot believe you believe that. So, here we go. Read my lips, everyone. Work with our proposed model where Port Adelaide's community remains intact and we continue to be a committed, genuine contributor to the SANFL competition like we have for 143 years. I think you can trust us that we have our heart in the SANFL competition. Or if that is rejected, we will keep the status quo. We will continue our AFL and SANFL structures as they are today. Therefore, the power will not have a reserves team in the 2014 SANFL competition. This will position us with a competitive disadvantage to the AFL, but it's the price we're willing to pay to preserve our intrinsic links to the community that we have had for 143 years. Let me tell you, Ken Hinckley is not thrilled about the prospect of being the only AFL side not to have a reserve side, but he understands, and this is why we love Ken so much, he's a values-driven bloke. He understands the importance of a strong value set. The same values, those values can't be compromised, and this is one of those values that will not compromise on. Some things are just more important than footy. Okay, I probably never thought I would say anything like that, but there are some values more important than footy. And in this instance, it's our tradition with the community and grassroots footy. Our community and grassroots footy links have been and always will be non-negotiable. We love developing, helping to develop young talent, young footy talent here, because we think that helps us all. It resonates with our community, it resonates with South Australia, and that's where we will be forever. Thank you.